Hey everybody, welcome to my knitting podcast. This is the second episode and my name is Katerina and I'm the knitwear designer behind Wildernest Knits. And in this episode I want to talk about a new yarn that I'm releasing, and also I am going to take a trip to the fiber mill where the yarn was produced, and I will do a little interview with MJ Becker, who is the founder of Battenkill Fibers. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. And if you're watching me for the first time, I just want to make a short introduction. I am the knitwear designer behind Wilderness Knits, and in these videos I talk about my designs, the projects that I'm working on, also the inspiration behind them, and I also want to share some exciting news about a new yarn that I'm releasing. So let's get right to it. So today I have a few exciting things that I want to talk about. First of all, I just released a new knitting pattern. It's called the Ruffle Baby Cardigan, and I'm going to add a picture to the video after, because I don't actually have a sample anymore. It was a gift for my niece. So I don't have that to show, unfortunately. But I also plan on making another sample in my own yarn. And I will show that in one of my other videos in the future. So the Ruffle Baby Cardigan is made with a DK weight yarn, and it includes sizes from 3 months to 24 months, so 2 years. And it also includes a schematic and is relatively easy to make. The shaping is made by using increases and decreases, so there's no short rows. Most of the body is worked in stockinette stitch. So it's a nice combination of kind of mindless knitting in combination with some interesting details, because it does have set-in sleeves. And those are sewed at the shoulders to the body. And then there's also the ruffle portion that's added to the shoulders. It's actually a great kind of canvas for embroidery. So that was the original intention when I was making this for my niece, because my sister-in-law does embroidery. So I wanted to give her a sweater where she can also add some embroidery details. So if you decide to make this pattern and you do add some embroidery to it, I would love to see your project. So don't hesitate to write to me at wildernessknits@gmail.com. I will love to see your projects. So I have a few exciting things to talk about today, other than the pattern that I just released. I also want to talk about the new yarn that I'm releasing. When this video goes out, the yarn will be available for a pre-order on my website, wildernessknits.com. So it's a limited batch. So if you want some of this yarn, you might want to jump on that website and order now, because I'm probably not going to have a lot of this yarn anytime soon again. I will be working on those orders probably in about the next 2 weeks. So there will be an estimated shipping date included there. And since this is a limited quantity, you might want to check it out now before it's gone. So I want to talk a little bit more about where this idea for my own yarn came from. When I was pregnant with my daughter, which is now, I guess, 2 years ago, I really wanted to make a sweater for her. And I did a lot of research about which yarns are safe for babies. So I have a pretty good idea about these yarns now. And there's also an article on my website that you can read about it. But there's actually not a lot of 100% local yarns that I could find back then. And that made me think about wanting to create my own yarn that would be 100% local. Not just spun locally, but also created with fiber that's 100% local. And that's kind of where the idea had started. And then I talked about it with the owner of the local fiber mill that's about 20 minutes from me in Greenwich, New York. The fiber mill is called Battenkill Fibers, and so my friend MJ Pecker there is the founder of that mill. We discussed this, and she gave me some options for local wool and also alpaca that could be used for this yarn. And I really wanted a combination of wool and alpaca because I really like that combination of those characteristics that wool has, which is that it holds shapes well over time. It kind of bounces back when you wash it. But I also really like alpaca because it drapes really well, and it has this nice kind of halo to it as well. And it's also extremely warm and so soft. So I wanted to combine a soft wool and also alpaca together. I didn't want to have too much alpaca in it, so it's there's more of wool. So the Wildernest Yarn is a 3-ply DK weight yarn that is a blend of all locally sourced 70% white and pale American Cormo wool and also 30% white baby alpaca. It comes in 50-gram skeins, and it has about 135 yards per skein. I will be taking you on a trip to the local fiber mill where this yarn was produced. And actually in Battenkill Fibers, a lot of really great yarns are being produced. You might not notice, for example, yarn for the Woolly Thistle is produced here, and also for the Brooklyn General Store, and also Oysters and Pearls yarn. So that's just an interesting fact. There is a swatch of this yarn. You can kind of see. It has a really nice stitch definition, I think. It's so soft, and it has this kind of nice luster as well. And yeah, it looks like it will have really nice drape and this kind of nice halo to it as well. But yeah, it's really extremely soft. So I think it's perfect for babies or anyone who, prefers softer yarns, which I think a lot of people actually do. And let me show you some of the yarn skeins that I have. It is kind of a huge bag actually, so here you go. So the yarn comes in 3 different colors for now. This one is 100% natural, creamy color. Waiting for the camera to focus. There we go. I think it's a beautiful base color. And then these other 2 colors. So this one is kind of a peach rosy color. It's also really nice. And then the third one is kind of like a dark navy color. Really beautiful. And what I love about these 3 colors is that they match really well. So I'm quite excited to create a project where I can use all of them. And that was actually my goal. I wanted colors that match together and that have a good amount of contrast between each other, so that I can potentially make some nice colorwork sweaters, or even sweaters with stripes, maybe mosaic. Yeah, so that will be really exciting to try it out and come up with new patterns for my own yarn. Really excited about that. Also, the sweater that I'm wearing today is called the Deep Sea Sweater, and I'm still working on finishing this pattern and then to get it ready for testing. So if you want to be part of this knitting test, you can follow me on Instagram or other social media, and yeah, then you will know when the test call comes. So without further ado, let's go for a trip to Battenkill Fibers in Greenwich, New York. So I'm here with MJ Becker from Battenkill Fibers. Do you want to do a little introduction, maybe?
Sure. Yeah, let's. Angie, Tim, and I own Battenkill Fibers. It's a carding and spinning mill in New York State. I started the business in 2009 thinking I might do exactly what we're doing now, which is find brands like yours and help them grow their business by making custom yarns for them. So it's exactly what we set out to do. We've been doing more and more of this kind of work in the last few years, and we're delighted to be doing it and helping you.
That's amazing. I'm glad you're doing it.
Yes, it's fun too. Instead of just making one yarn all the time, it's really fun to be making a variety of different yarns and different materials too.
Yeah, it's like an adventure every time.
Yeah, every day it's an adventure.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm here because I'm picking up my new yarn, and here it is on the table. It's in 3 different colors. And yeah, I just want to talk about a little bit more about how it was spun and the material. Yeah, so I guess that's where we can start. So how was the yarn spun?
Well, it's a 3-ply construction, which we really, both of us, happen to really like in knitting, because it makes a very round yarn. That 3rd ply really smooths out the yarn. And so when you're knitting any kind of textured stitch or cables, it's just so good stitch definition. The strands stand right up next to each other. The individual strands, see, they don't want to nestle together the way 2-ply does because there's no place to nestle. Each strand is its own complete, smooth 3-ply. So 2 of them together lay next to each other. So it may be not so good for weaving, but excellent for textured knitting. Basket stitch, cable stitch, seed stitch even, it all just pops with a 3-ply construction. So we spin each, just like in hand spinning, we spin each strand as a single ply. Mm-hmm. And then we take the bobbins with the single ply and twist them together on our plier. And the singles are quite fine, but with soft wool like this, a lot of times soft wool is sort of short staple. So spinning it pretty fine enables us to put in a tighter twist that helps hold the short staple fine wool in place. And then when we ply it, then we can use a looser twist in the plying. And that's why the yarn still feels so soft, even though we put in kind of a firm twist on the singles to hold the fine wool in place.
Right, so that it doesn't pill, right?
Right, exactly. That we're trying to avoid pilling. I mean, sadly, you get a little bit of pilling, even sadly, before it's ever worn the first time. And that's because the fine wool breeds of sheep. It's so fine that it kind of felts on the back of the sheep. Mm-hmm. And like if the sheep rubs against the fence or something, it felts the tip together. And then usually when we wash it, it kind of melts apart. But sometimes it's so felted together, we can't get it apart. And then it ends up snapping off. So that little pilly thing we were just looking at is actually a piece of the tips of maybe 20 little hairs that were all felted together. And when we carded it, they snapped. So that's inevitable with the very fine wools. It's always a trade-off.
Okay, that's really interesting. So do you think this yarn is suitable for color work knitting as well?
I wouldn't say you don't color work knit with it, but I'm not so sure I would do a lot of stranded color work knitting. Mm-hmm. If nothing else, it's going to be hard to define dominance because this whole nestling thing in color work. 2-ply nestles so nice, whereas these 3-plies, they want to be next to each other. So I think it would be good in stripes.
Mm-hmm.
It looked great in stripes. You'd have a real clean line between the stripes, or that kind of color work where there's a forced dominance, like a corrugated rib or brioche. It would work really well in brioche because they would each really hold up because they're identical. They were just dyed after they were spun. Mm-hmm. It'd be super cute in brioche. Put that behind there like a shadow and have sort of the front as a tan sweater with this little gray peeking through.
That's a great idea. I think I might try that.
Yeah, I think brioche, maybe more so than like Fair Isle. Mm-hmm. And this one, I just, maybe because I have quite a few granddaughters, I just am so taken with doing this one with any kind of lace pattern. I think I'd prefer this yarn in textures and laces or stripes. I mean, you can't go wrong with stripes, and actually that would be super cute too.
It would, yeah.
Just all three. And you know, the nice thing about that, it's unisex. Mm-hmm. You could do, boys or girls could wear that. So even though you got a little girl now, if you got a little boy someday, you'd be ready.
Yeah.
And, speaking as the mom of boys and girls, that was a problem when you had something beautiful hand knit in pink. Mm-hmm.
That's true. And originally I wanted like a more pinkish color, but like you're saying, this is way more gender neutral.
Yeah.
So in a way, I'm happier, I guess, with this color than if it was pink.
And you could also do something in which you really play up this. So it's almost like a blue sweater, see? Mm-hmm. And every now and then you have one stripe of something.
Yeah.
That's also really nice, too.
Yeah, I also think that this blue shade is quite neutral. It's almost like dark gray. So that also works out really well.
Yeah, you could imagine that in a blanket like you take in the car, like a little 18 by 18 square. Mm-hmm. Even something pretty simple, like just basket stitch, you know, knit 2, purl 2, 2 rows, and then purl 2, knit 2. Mm-hmm. Or any kind of where you cast on 1 and go till you have 100, and then decrease till you have 1 again. Garter stitch with just a little lace edge. That would be great in a car.
Yeah.
Just throw it in there and just cover up them in the car seat.
Mm-hmm. And it would be very warm because this is partially alpaca.
Yes.
So that brings me to my next question. What is the material of these yarns, and where were they sourced from?
Yes. Well, we were really fortunate to source the fine wool in this locally. It's a little hard to get good fine wool in this area. Well, it's hard to get fine wool in this area because that breed of sheep is a little fussy, doesn't like wet weather like we have so much of, because their fur, their fleece is so fine that it takes their skin like forever to dry out once it gets wet. So if it's wet 300 out of 365, they just don't do well. Mm-hmm. So you have to spend a lot more time as a farmer caring for them to have their fleeces be beautiful. And we buy this from a Cormo farmer down in Dutchess County, which he just does a real nice job with caring for his animals. And we used this, the color here comes from using, usually we make colors by using colored alpaca and white wool. But actually in this project, we used colored wool and white alpaca because we had access to some really beautiful, it was kind of like a mink color before we blended it with the white alpaca. And that was just such a good opportunity to use that because there's not a whole lot of market usually for that. And so here's this poor farmer doing such a good job raising these Cormo sheep and then not really having a market. So you really helped him by being willing to make your color by adding white alpaca.
Oh, that's awesome. So
then the white alpaca came from just across the river. in Saratoga County.
Oh, that's great.
And in fact, the farmer, Elaine, was just here earlier today to pick up some rug yarn we had made for her. And essentially, when we got that fiber in from her, we classed it. And we took the very finest, softest, and that's what's in your project. Oh. And then some of the coarser stuff we saved for the rug yarn she just picked up today. So, because when you're making a rug, you don't want to do this with your rug. You want to walk back and forth on it. So by classing it, we got a lot of value out of Elaine's fiber from her alpacas. Now, there's a little bit of guard hair in here. I saw one of these tan ones where there was a coarse hair sticking out. There it is. You can't even see it, but...
Like this?
Yeah, that's it. It's from the alpacas, and it's never gonna be like a regular hair. It's always coarse, and that's what makes it scratchy too. When you're knitting, if you see one of them, you can just pull it out.
Right.
They won't hurt your structure at all. And leaving it in isn't the end of the world, but when I see them, I do pull them out. Because that is where your scratch is coming from.
But the yarn is still suitable for babies.
Oh,
right?
Gosh, yes. Very, very suitable. Part of why we're able to get away with this kind of rough classing of the fiber is that we spin worsted style as opposed to woolen style. And so people who have been to our mill know that we have a machine called a pin drafter. In fact, we have 3 pin drafters that run on 2 shifts a day. And so we never cut to make roving. Like pencil roving is carded full width and then cut into those little strips that are spun. That's traditional woolen spinning. But worsted takes the full width carded material and collects it and combs it with the pin drafters. And so that's why this is so especially soft, even though there are obviously some hairs in here, because it came right from a local farm. This was not highly processed. And I think anything you lose in softness next to baby skin, you make up for in wholesomeness next to baby skin, because this is so unprocessed.
Yeah.
You know, there's been no chemicals ever, especially in this color. This is the natural color of the wool and the alpaca. No dyes to get to this color. And these were very carefully rinsed. I'd be amazed if there was any bleed on these. My kids all like to suck their blankets. And I would still let them suck this blanket.
Right. It's very natural. Yeah.
It's all been, all the dye stuffs have been absorbed into the wool.
And there's some great benefits to adding alpaca to the wool, I think. I don't know if you could name some, but I know that it also creates like a nice fuzz, so that's more like a, I guess...
a halo.
Yeah, like a halo, like a more aesthetic feature, but also it adds more warmth, because alpaca is supposed to be warmer than wool.
See, just as I've been handling this skein, I'm starting to see all these little loose, these very fine, very soft, not the coarse guard hairs, but the soft alpaca is loosening up. Look, just by rubbing my hand over it, and how that softens it even more, and will add that halo and the warmth. It also has good drape. Like ordinarily, a skein of just fine wool would be shaped like this. It'd be all scrunched up, and it'd be very squishy. Everyone's, oh, it's so squishy. But if you were making something that you wanted to drape a little, including the blanket, it wouldn't be limp like this. It would be, it'd be like that.
Yeah.
But by having this half alpaca, you're gaining all of this drape.
And but not too much, because it's a pretty good ratio.
Right. It'll hold its shape.
Yeah. So it will bounce back too once it's washed.
Exactly. Well. And that's the beauty of blending a fine wool with an alpaca. You get the drape and the softness and some of the halo, but you've still got quite a lot of bounce, will hold its shape, and the softness of the fine wool.
Yeah. I can't wait to knit with it.
You haven't?
still haven't. No.
I have.
I'm still finishing some projects. Oh, you have?
I've
Okay.
swatched with it. It never
Okay.
occurred to me to not bring it in. Now this is a DK, but a little on the thinner end of DK. I think there's 135 yards in your 50 gram skeins. Each one of these have 135 yards. And so I had like 25 yards left on the end of a bobbin when we were skein winding. So I took it home and swatched with it. I made it pretty tight. I tried it on a 3, and I think that it's tighter than it should be. Okay. I would like to try it on a 4 or a 5 next. But I did try it on a 3. And
how was the knitting experience? Was it more slippery? Or
no, it's fine. I loved it. Because I like knitting with a 3-ply at home. You know, I just made a little 3x3 square on US 3s. And so I feel like it could be a little tight. But I wanted it to still have some warmth to it. And when you open it up too much, you know, it makes a nice soft fabric, but there's nothing to it. I made my granddaughter Daisy a little dress with, remember we had that oysters and pearls like you made the original shawl with, how we met. I used some of that in yellow, of course, because Daisy, that's her color. And I made her a little dress, like a jumper. I made it as a jumper. But she wore it, when she got it, she wore it as a summer dress. And I'm like, honey, that's with wool. And of course, you know, it was new, so she wanted to wear it. But she was not, when I felt her skin, she wasn't hot in it because I had knit that on maybe 5s or 6s. And so it was quite open because I had thought she'd wear it in the winter with a t-shirt under it. And so I didn't want it to make her too hot. But at the end, it was wool and she was fine in the summer.
Yeah, and supposedly wool is also an option for summer knitting because it wicks sweat, I guess.
Yes.
So it regulates temperature.
And so that was a sleeveless dress.
Right, so, and if it's more loose and you have the lace work, then I think it can work pretty well if it's not too hot, of course. But yeah.
We have some wool, hemp, silk that we're working on for a commercial customer. And we've done a couple of trial spins that aren't quite what we want to sell the customers. So I'm finding myself with more and more wool, hemp, silk kicking around. And I'm thinking that would definitely make like a little summer tee. Those kind where you don't even make a sleeve. You just, when you knit in the round, you get to the arms and you stop knitting in the round. And that just sort of gets sewn together at the shoulders. Yeah. You know, very simple like that. But that's wool with hemp and silk. And I think that's going to be great. Yeah. I think that would work pretty well. So back to the yarn. Back to the yarn. Yes, this is not just a chat. This is to tell people about this beautiful yarn. Yeah, so could you tell us more about how it was dyed? Oh, yes. Yes. So we dye small runs like this here at Battenkill Fibers. It's kettle dyed, so there's going to be some variation, although Angie, who does the dyeing, did a really good job with it. It's very consistent. So I don't see, sometimes I tell people to alternate if you're using yarn we've dyed. In other words, if you're making a sweater, don't just knit this skein till it's gone, and then this skein, and then this skein. Knit a few rows from this, then a few rows from this, a few rows from this, and then keep going of alternating. But this is so consistent. Yeah, I wouldn't know that there's any difference. That it was kettle dyed. And then what I love about this color is you can see through. Like we picked a light pinkish color, and instead of getting pink, we got orange because the strength of the tan underneath. See how there's like this hint of tan everywhere? That may not be showing on the camera, but I'm dying to see this knit up. I actually think moms would look very good in this too, not just babies. Right. Yeah, the yarn, originally it was meant for babies, but it can be used for anything. It's a soft yarn, so yeah, works for any kind of knitting. But I think a cardigan for a grown-up, just a plain cardigan with some white mother of pearl buttons, in this with maybe a yoke pattern, like a ranunculus kind of yoke pattern, and buttons would be really cute. And because of the weight, 135 yards and 50 grams, so that's 270 in 100 grams. You'd only need, well, you'd need 8. So
Yeah.
8 50-gram skeins. Very affordable way to get a whole sweater. And I really think you'd get a lot of wear out of a sweater.
Yeah. And for babies, you need even less. So that makes it super affordable.
Yeah, just a couple of skeins is all you need for babies at 135. And that was part of why we made it a little thinner than some decays, is we wanted to be lightweight for baby, and also so that a single skein would give you enough for a little baby hat. And 3 skeins would be perfect for a sweater. That way people don't have to buy 200 grams, they can buy 150 grams. And that's all the more they need.
Yeah, and then you also have bigger palette for the stitch pattern too.
Yes.
Because you get more stitches, so
yeah.
So that works really well.
Yes.
Sometimes it's a challenge when you have, a bulky weight yarn to make a baby sweater.
Yeah, because the scale isn't right.
Right.
That if you want to make a leaf and it's 3 stitches to the inch, you just can't show much detail in a 3 stitch to the inch leaf. But in a 6 stitch to the inch leaf, then you can really show something.
Yeah, and some patterns even, they have the different sizes for babies, but then what they do is they recommend a different needle size for each size, likely because, with the stitch definition or stitch size, you can't, if you add 1 stitch, it doesn't make as much difference.
Yeah, I'm not sure I like when people do that, when they get gauged by just keep changing needle size. I really like it when they knit the yarn at the gauge it was made to be knit at, and then create the pattern to support.
Yeah, I like that too. Yeah.
Oh, I love how this turned out. It's so round. It's so sturdy yet soft. Look at that. Like a string of pearls.
I don't know if you can see it on the camera. I can try.
And of course, that's the color that matches your skin, too.
Right. Not the most visible.
Easier to see right there.
Yeah, so the goal was to create 100% local yarn, which I think, we accomplished.
Yeah. Yeah, we really, it was a great collaboration, and I'm guessing you're going to be back for more very soon when your customers get this in their hands. That's what they need to do. They need to order 1 skein and just make some mittens, the kind you tie in a little string around their neck and a little hat, and see what it feels like. And once they feel that, they're going to go nuts and be wanting to come back for blankets, whole blankets worth, whole sweaters worth.
Yeah, and I would love to do more colors if this project is a success. So there might be more coming in.
Yeah, can't you picture this one on a little boy, just a uniform striped sweater, just
kind of like a navy theme.
Yeah, a navy theme, and it'd be such a simple little cardigan or a pullover, just a little pullover with raglan sleeves. I feel like I made one of my sons a sweater like that when he was little, with just alternating stripes that he wore.
My daughter actually has a jacket like that. So could make
it doesn't even have to be boys. I mean, girls wear these colors too.
Yeah, or a nice navy themed dress for the girl.
Oh, how cute. Oh, that'd be super cute.
Yeah. Take a trip to the coast.
Yes. Actually, in this similar style to what I made Daisy's dress in, it had just a little simple rectangle yoke, 2 little rectangle straps, and then off the base of the rectangle yoke, you picked up and knit 3 in each pickup. So you went from like 40 stitches to 120.
Wow.
Yeah, that's how you gathered it, was with how you picked it up. And boy, that was cute to have
like a
that
little baby doll dress.
Yeah, baby doll. Yeah, very cute. Which is why she wanted to put it right on and wear it. Fortunately, they had another little girl because they grow so fast. And now her little sister is able to wear it soon.
That must be so cute. Yeah. I love it when there's like an heirloom piece and it goes from, one child to another one.
I just saw a picture of the youngest one, who's going to be a year in January, wearing a sweater that I actually knit for the oldest, who's 9, who gave it to her sister, who's 5, to her cousin, who's 3, who's now given it to the one who's 1.
That's
it's
amazing.
Come the whole way.
Yeah, that's really nice.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess you already kind of talked about the mill, but are there any future events that we could see you at, or where can we see Battenkill Fibers other than here?
Well, especially here, if people want to see more of how we made this, we'll be open on the weekend of April 27th and 28th because it's Washington County Fiber Tour.
So that's in Greenwich, New York, just for anybody who doesn't know.
Yes, right here. The mill will be open both days, as will 7 farms. So you can come and visit farms and come to the mill. Otherwise, our factory store that's in the background here is open every day that we're open, so at least Monday through Friday. So if you're in the area and it's not Fiber Tour, then we're also doing quite a few festivals.
Right.
We have a booth at Maryland Sheep and Wool, which is the first weekend in May. And then we go to New Hampshire Sheep and Wool to pick up and drop off orders. But we don't have a booth there because we sell out of things in Maryland, so we don't have anything to sell by the time we get to New Hampshire. But that's okay. And then June 8th and 9th is Central New York. That's in the Syracuse, Utica area. And we spin for a lot of people in Central New York and Western New York. So being at that show is really a good place for us to meet our customers. But we bring things that we have made. Our mill ends, for sure, will be there June 8th and 9th. And then our next big event is in September when we do the Southern Adirondack Fiber Festival.
That's my favorite.
Well, it's right here in Greenwich.
Right.
It's hard to beat at the Washington County Fair. And I really do hope we'll have you and some of your yarn and one of your designs. We have a huge booth, and we love having our customers who don't have their own booth share some space with us.
That would be awesome.
The same with Rhinebeck, too. I'd love to. It may be a lot to come both days or even all of one day, but we can tell people who follow you ahead of time when you'll be there at Rhinebeck, and then they can come and meet you. And especially you've got so many people who follow you from New York City and from south of here that they may not get this far to meet either of us, but they could come to see us at Rhinebeck.
Yeah, and I haven't been to Rhinebeck for 2 years, I think, so I would love to come back again and definitely be there for at least one day.
Yeah, that'd be perfect.
It's very exciting.
Yes. Yeah. And then we go off into the New England Fiber Festival. That's at the Big E, the first weekend in November. But again, that's just to pick up and drop off. And we are also usually at the Vermont Fiber Festival, which is the very first weekend in October. But I don't know if I'll be there this year because we're going to Norway with my other business, Battenkill Textile Tours, leaving here on September 24th and not coming back till October 4th. And Vermont Sheep and Wool is like the 4th and 5th or 5th and 6th. It's so close,
it's very close
that I may just want to sleep and not go to Vermont.
Yeah, you may want to send someone else here.
Well, we have a colleague, Kingdom Fleece and Fiber, Liz from Northern Vermont, who the last 2 years she's had me as a guest in her booth. And she's got a great location right on the track at the Vermont Fairgrounds. And so people can drive right up to my truck and drop off their fiber. And so we just pull in for the Saturday, load up the fiber, and pull out. So right at Liz's booth. But I don't know if I'm awake enough after flying home from Norway. We'll have to see.
Yeah, it might be a little bit too much.
Maybe Liz will just take it in for us. But October's so far away, you know. I'm just trying to get myself together for the Hudson Valley Textile Project Annual Summit, which is next week, April 17th. So if I can get through April 17th, then everything will be clearer.
Do you want to tell us more about that?
Well, as you know, I'm one of the co-founders of that. It's a nonprofit, the Hudson Valley Textile Project, that exists to help people who aren't as outgoing and adventuresome as you and me find each other. Mm-hmm. So that's the whole idea, is to help encourage collaborations like this. And you're unique because not only are you developing a yarn brand, but you're your own designer. Sometimes the collaborations end up having a third party, the designer too, or even a fourth party, the retailer. Mm-hmm. Like when we spin something for Brooklyn General Store, they're also retailing it at their shop.
You were spinning for them too. That's
exciting. It's Ursa Major and Ursa Minor. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just like it's a similar yarn to the woolly thistle, only woolly thistle uses mostly Dorset, which is a kind of sheep's wool. First, it's a sock yarn, and what we're making for Brooklyn General uses Corriedale in place of the Dorset, and it's not as thin. It's really not a sock yarn. It's a fingering, but you know that kind of fingering you make sweaters out of.
Yeah, I have to look that up.
Yes, yeah. But so anyhow. Hudson Valley Textile Project started 8 years ago and has grown to 150 members. You can look online, HB Textile Project, and annual dues are paid, and one of the benefits is the summit, which takes place every year. And this year it's April 17th. It'll be in Kingston. Mm-hmm. We used to meet for a number of years in New Paltz, and we outgrew the space. So we're trying a new space in Kingston. It's giving us an opportunity to have a fashion show from a high school fashion program. Their teachers been real active in the textile project. We're also having a presentation by some Skidmore College sustainable fashion students. We'll have a presentation about the new Fashion Innovation Center, which was funded last fall with a $9 million grant from the state of New York. The Hudson Valley Textile Project are one of the members of a consortium that's spending the $9 million, and our focus is expanding our scouring facility, and we hope to bring into that a wide format carding machine so that we can make comforters, another thing for your line for babies, to make the batting for comforters, and also to set up a comb top machine so that we could utilize more of the fine wools. And like this, we might have put this through it and gotten some of the more of the pills out if we had been able to comb it. But right now, you can't get combed top local fiber. You can either have combed with no pills, no veg, or you can have local fiber. But there's no way to get it 100% cleaned up without making it comb top. So those are the things we're working on at Hudson Valley Textile Project, and people who want to know more can come to the summit on April 17th.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting because I don't think that many people realize like the role of technology in making those yarns. Like I wouldn't know all these details, at all. I would not think about that. So, yeah.
Which I think helps designers and makers to have a little bit of this background in how it's made and what are some of the challenges when it comes to lock structure and staple length and what makes a smooth yarn, how we're balancing the plying twist with the spinning twist. I mean, you just don't think of that. And by being part of our collaboration, I know I too have learned a lot about what you're looking for, like how we talked about this put up. Like I would have just 100-gram skeins, and you really talked me into why 50-gram skeins are important, because moms and grandmas don't want to be buying way more yarn than they need. And so by having a 50-gram, it makes it a lot more approachable for these small projects. And I never understood that till you told me. So.
That, and also, if you're working with any kind of color work, whether it's stranded or stripes, it also makes it more, there's going to be less waste, right? Because you may not need as much of one color as you do of the other contrasting colors, let's say. So Yeah.
Right. Like in this case, you needed 3 navies, but you only needed 2 tans because you're going to do all the neck edges and cuffs and everything in the blue too.
Yeah. I think that we covered a lot here. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't have any more questions, I guess. Yeah, so thank you very much for talking to me.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. I'm really glad that we found each other.
Yeah,
and people like you who are watching, you can find me too if you want. And people who follow me who are watching, you really need to get some of Kat's yarn here. It's really soft and really thoughtfully planned, and that thoughtfulness shows through in every skein. Good work.
Thank you. Yeah, I think I'm very lucky to be, so near Battenkill Fibers. It's like this treasure, that not many people know about.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm gonna really cut some of this out, but
well, how did we do?
So I hope that you enjoyed today's episode. You can leave me a comment below if you did, and any kind of suggestions that you have. Click on that like button, subscribe to my channel if you want to, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
Oh, it's such a nice weight for children's garment.